No Kings, a huge success. The military parade, a big flop. And Michael Wolff reveals a bunch of information about Jeffrey Epstein, Vladimir Putin, the felon, and possible blackmail. Let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who subscribed to the channel, to everybody who likes, watches, comments on the videos, shares the videos, promotes the channel in any way whatsoever. Huge, huge thank you. If you've donated money to the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee, Venmo, Super Thanks, big, big thank yous. It's all greatly, greatly appreciated. So this past weekend, we had the No Kings March, garnered about 4 to 6 million people's estimated. Biggest one-day protest in the history of the country. We saw this happening um, in our yearly predictions. And the military parade turned out to be a flop. Again, we saw that happening as well. Recently did another video on it, but we had seen that happening a month or so ago. Um, the media's focus was not on the military parade at all, which in some ways might be a good thing for the felon. Uh, we did have some political assassinations in Minnesota, which is very sad, and we're going to look at that. But at a future when I get a little bit more information about what's I think going on there, what the motivation was. They know who the suspect is, so um, at the time that I'm recording this, uh, he's still not in custody. So um, okay, so the big story. Uh, The only thing I can say about the No Kings protest is congratulations to everybody on the channel who participated in it, and to everybody who participated in the country and around the world in these protests. Huge congratulations. Um, and some of you have contacted me personally and feel like, I can't really participate in these things because of a variety of reasons. That's completely understandable. I think everybody knows everybody can just do what they can do, their part. And that's the way it works. And doing our little part might just be, sharing a video, things like that. So on the podcast, Legal AF by Sydney Blumenthal and Sean Willentz, they had on the author Michael Wolff. Now, Michael Wolff is no stranger to television. I've seen him several times interviewed. Um, Again, these people make me very angry that they keep information to hold it to make more money. But in this case, I don't think that's actually what's going on here. Let me tell you just a rundown of what Wolff said, and then we'll throw some cards um, with questions about that. So Michael Wolff said on their podcast that he saw photos of the felon and Jeffrey Epstein with topless girls of an undetermined age. And furthermore, the photos showed that the felon had a stain on his trousers. Sorry to be graphic, but I think it's important that we don't beat around the bush here. Michael Wolff also said that Jeffrey Epstein told him that he had traveled to Russia and met with Vladimir Putin. Remember, Epstein was arrested when Trump was president the first time. That's important. Uh, when Epstein was raided by the FBI, uh, Wolff was told by Epstein that the FBI took the pictures out of his safe. So, in theory, the FBI has these pictures. Is this why we haven't seen the Epstein files? We'll ask that question. Does Michael Wolff want to get sued? The felon loves to sue people. Does he want to get sued? Uh, and is there maybe a trouser stain tape? So we've talked about this on this channel over the course of the last 6 months, I guess, of that there's blackmailing going on and that it would slowly start to be revealed. And now it is starting to be revealed. So we are starting to see everything that all the visions that I had going back are starting to play out exactly as I thought they would. Now, I am not always right by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm right more than I'm wrong. And this really is just another step of the downfall of the felon. It's not a ways away, it's already started. It's just a question of how long it takes. Now, I do think his health is what takes him out ultimately, um, just because of the way our laws are written in this country, the way the Constitution works. There's really no other way to get him out of the presidency unless he leaves the planet. Impeachment will never work. All you have to do is listen to some House hearings and see how crazy Republicans are. They're never going to impeach him. It's just not going to happen. So now I hope I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. And that's not uh, me having any visions here. That's just the way the gerrymandered House districts are put into place, and the Senate would never convict because of the way red states are red and blue states are blue, and that's just the way it would happen. Okay, so Michael Wolff says that um, he was shown by Jeffrey Epstein a photo of um, the felon and Jeffrey Epstein with some topless young girls of an indeterminate age. And the felon had a trouser stain in the, you know, growing area of his trousers. So um, let's just see. Now, Michael Wolff is a pretty smart guy. Uh, I don't think he would be saying these things if he couldn't back them up because he knows that the felon would sue him, I would think. So, are these, what do we need to know about these photos? What do we need to know? Do these photos exist? What do we need to know about them? What do we need to know about them? And I'm going to link that podcast um, in this video and, share that as well. The more we share these things, the better. The media hasn't picked up on it. Look what's at the bottom of the deck, the King of Pentacles, the felon. Okay. What do we need to know about these things? The felon looked almost inconsolable at the parade. This podcast did air a few days ago. I don't think it has gotten much attention. I think the last one I listened to it was only at like 190,000 views, which, I mean, that's a lot of views, but really for something this explosive, that's not really that much. Uh, and the media hasn't picked up on it, at least not to my knowledge. Now I've pretty much given up on traditional media, so okay. What do we need to know? So I had seen the felon being very angry over the weekend, and that was in the video that I did about the parade. And I assumed it was about the parade. It might not have been. Yeah, decisions need to be made. The Two of Swords. I think the felon is aware of this podcast. I think Sydney Blumenthal and Sean Willentz, who are very smart people. Sean Willentz, I think, was the chair of the history department at Princeton. Sydney Blumenthal is a pretty uh, well-respected lawyer that's worked for Democrats over the years. And yeah, we get the Six of Pentacles, giving and receiving of information. So I think these photos, they exist, and Michael Wolff has seen them. I think he's talking about them because of the people, the Four of Wands here. I think Michael Wolff actually genuinely cares about what's going on. Now, I'm not passing judgment on his character one way or another. I don't really know enough about him. I've always thought he was a little squirmy, personally, but um, he's got a lot of information to bring forward. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think that's unfortunate that we live in this day and age where information is money and information is withheld to make money. I think that's unfortunate. Yeah. We get the Ten of Pentacles at the center of the reading. This is about money. It's about for Michael Wolff, it's about making money by selling his book, but it's also about inheritance. The Ten of Pentacles speaks of inheritance, right? It's about the inheritance of the country, and I think he sees that the country is in trouble in the sense that the felon is just so irrational that we don't really know what we're doing. Again, as the felon was getting ready to leave for the G7, he made some tariff threats. So the Asian markets are all weird this morning, but they may calm down by the time I'm done recording. But, I think at the heart of this, it really is concern for what is next if we don't expose this. We get the Queen of Cups, it's pulling on people's heartstrings to help bring the felon down. These are things that are undeniable. Now, obviously, the photos aren't going to be published. I don't think Michael Wolff has the photos, but we'll ask the question, did Jeffrey Epstein give the photos to Vladimir Putin? The Queen of Pentacles. Michael Wolff has been holding on to this information for a while um, until it was of the utmost value. Again, a little bit squirmy, just like Jake Tapper, Michael, and John Bolton with his book. It's about the greedy merchant. That's Jeffrey Epstein and the Putin, or Jeffrey Epstein and the felon. I'm sorry. And we get bombshells and surprises, the Page of Cups. So Michael Wolff has been sitting on this, waiting to make a decision. I think he was finally pushed there because he thinks, one, he can make the most money, but also I think he does genuinely care about the country. And he knows that this is a possible way to help bring down the felon, or at least MAGA, after the felon is gone. He's been holding on to this information um, for the right time. The right time is to make money, but also to make sure that what is given to the people after this time period is over, after the felon's rule or presidency is over, is still something that can be salvaged and saved. And I've always said US democracy is going to survive. It's not really going to be a close shot. It's just, it feels that way, right? And sometimes logic and emotions don't go together sometimes. So it's about giving and receiving of information. It's powerful information, shocking, fiery information. It's about the greedy merchants, Epstein and the felon. And it's information that everybody can understand and empathize with. So that's why it's coming forward at this time. It's going to cause loss. for a lot of people, not just the felon, but it's a loss for the country in some sense, but it's also a loss for MAGA. It's a loss for the people that, truly bought into the idea that the felon's not a squirmy, I don't know any nice way to say this, like a squirmy old icky man. We get more loss with the Five of Pentacles, and we get full illumination with the Sun card. All's going to be revealed, including his illness with the Four of Swords. And it's going to be a tower moment. It really is going to bring down structures. It's going to make people really rethink their political alliances because it's going to be, how's it going to look for all the people that defended the felon, that said, oh no, none of this stuff is true. And then it turns out everything that's been being said about him turns out to be true. So I think it's a sticky situation. So Wolf said Epstein went to Russia and met with Putin. So Epstein told Wolf this. So what do we need to know about that? Did he go to Russia? And if so, why did he go? Did he go to Russia? And if so, why did he go? And I've always said Epstein met with Putin. And I actually took a lot of heat for that video because people were telling me, Epstein wouldn't do that because of his religious alliances and stuff like this and that. And I hadn't really considered that because I just go by the images I get. They tend to be pretty accurate. Um, and like all of what Wolf said in this podcast, and again, I'll link that to the video, and we should share that, share the video of the podcast, share this video, whatever we need to do to get things out there, especially if you feel like you can't do things like the No Kings protest. This would be a way sharing, um, in particular, that podcast with people, just getting it out there. See if we can't get the media to pick it up. So what do we need to know? So Wolf says Epstein said he went to Russia and met with Putin. Is that true? So yeah, in the water, it's like that hotel flashing sign that I've talked about several times. It's flashing yes, yes, yes. So all that's true. Um, it was a somewhat illusioned and delusioned trip with the Seven of Cups, somewhat done under duress. It was his way of walking away from the felon, right? Jeffrey Epstein walked away from the felon by going to Russia. I think Epstein knew things were about to fall apart in his world, and this is why he did it. Um, he wanted to share the information that he had on the felon with the world to try to keep the felon out of power, or to at least, let me restate that. I think that's partly true too, but I think in the bigger scheme of thing, it was to save himself, right? I mean, these people are very sick and selfish. So it was also to save himself, but to let the world know, if something should happen to me, this is why, and something happened to him, and this is most likely why, for entertainment purposes only. He traveled. The Chariot card's about travel, but it's also about trafficking. I think he shared information with regards to that as well. For entertainment purposes only, this is just a tarot reading and my impressions. Epstein was very much playing the Page of Swords type person in the story, willing to sabotage the felon for his own safety, willing to be the spy in the camp. He had the information, and it was explosive, the tower. So he had explosive information that could bring down the wands are pointed down here, and bring down the felon and perhaps save himself in the time being. And again, choices had to be made, and I think they had to be made somewhat quickly. And we get the Five of Wands fighting and suing. So the felon, Epstein, and all those other people involved in this are living in this very illusional world with addictions and perversions and amoral activities. Epstein knows about this. He's the spy in the camp. I think he thought about it for a while before he, with himself, fought with himself for a while before deciding to talk to Putin. He knew this was a way to bring him down. Epstein was capable of doing it. And it was a way to get the information to the whole world. And I do think we'll get the information. That's always been my prediction. I think it'll all become public. Choices had to be made. It feels like they had to be made rather quickly. I'm not sure what the time frame on this was, but um, I think Epstein very much feared for his safety. So he decided to walk away from the felon and reveal a lot of what Epstein did with others, including the felon. I don't think the felon's the only one on that list. And the information is quite explosive. It's about the president of the United States abusing power before he was president, possibly even while he was president. And it's about putting up some guardrails to keep, it was Epstein's way of putting up guardrails to try to keep himself safe and hope that the fortunes turned in his favor. Possibly, this was a way to get a new beginning around his legal troubles, but it turns out that those went full steam ahead. The deceit and deception that Epstein did was uh, found out. He was arrested, and then I think a lot of that stuff kind of calmed down with the temperance card after Epstein was arrested. But at least within that group, definitely not in the world, but it feels like this was very much a last resort type thing. And uh, it was done for these reasons. Okay, so does the FBI have pictures? So Wolf said Epstein told him that after the FBI raided his house in um, New York or New Jersey, I forget where it was, New York, right? Um, that the FBI took pictures out of his safe. So does the FBI currently have these pictures? This could explain the craziness behind threatening to fire the FBI director, not James Comey, but the one after that, Chris, his name's eluding me, and putting in Kash Patel, who's clearly a loyalist. Now, everybody at the FBI seems to be playing by the rules and not just releasing information willy-nilly, but probably trying to build a case, or was before the takeover. So, does the FBI have pictures? Yeah, they have the pictures. I'm I think they have more than just that particular image description that we got from Michael Wolff in the podcast. I think there was more in the safe than just that. We're going to figure it out. We're going to find out the truth. Um, don't know the time frame on this one at all. Part of me feels like it might not be for a long time, but let's keep going. Perhaps we will. There's a spy in the camp, the Page of Swords. Perhaps somebody, magically releases these information. There's a lot of deceit and deception, I think, for entertainment purposes from the current FBI director around this situation. I think whatever investigations were going on have probably been stopped. That might be what we get. We might get information about investigations being stopped. The truth is there. So, the Ace of Swords. At the center of the reading, we get victory, the Six of Wands. So we're going to find out about this, and it's going to be liberating. Doesn't feel like it's soon, but it doesn't feel like it's super far away either. It feels like it's definitely before the next presidential election. Yeah, things are just going to find their way to the surface. It might be through tidbits of information. And we'll get to this in a second. The last question I want to ask is, does Michael Wolff want to be sued? We get the Queen of Pentacles. They're being held in a safe spot. I don't think a lot of people know about them. I think it's pretty guarded secret. Yeah, they're definitely being held in a way that they're not accessible to just anyone. I don't think they're destroyed. I don't think that they can destroy them. I don't think that they would destroy them because I think they know that there are other copies, right? Other people have this information too. And we get the Temperance. So the truth is going to be revealed about this. It's going to bring victory to the people and a return to normalcy. Like I said, the Temperance card is going to be an important card for a while, as is the Nine of Wands. Um, they're being held in a safe place, but it's not going to stop people from finding out about them, despite the FBI being secretive and deceitful on the topic. They're definitely well guarded, but there's some sort of spy in the camp. Somebody's going to do the right thing at some point, bringing these things to the surface, shedding light on them, and then the truth gets revealed with the Ace of Swords. So I do think that these things come to light. It's a lot of burdens to know that these things are out there for the felon. It's the end of a cycle once they come to light. It's going to really pull on people's heartstrings. It's almost like karma's working behind the scenes to make sure that it happens. Whether it's before he leaves the planet or after, I'm not sure. But this information is too valuable in the sense of just for public decency, needing to know what was going on and to explain um, all the relationships with Putin and others with the Six of Pentacles. Okay, so is this the reason why the Epstein files haven't been released? Did this somehow get wrapped up into the Epstein files? So, Biden was president for 4 years, different FBI, of course, Chris Krebs, that was his name. FBI director certainly isn't beholden to the president. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to, FBI is not supposed to change political affiliations. That's why the directors are supposed to be for 10 years, but, you know, those rules have fallen by the window, or those norms. Are there any tapes or pictures that are part of the Epstein files? Like, are they referenced in the Epstein files? Is there a reason why we haven't seen those yet, even though we were promised them? Again, it's it's very clear that this is a yes, but let's see what the cards say if we can't get any more. It feels like they're referred to in the Epstein files. So we get temperance. It's so the redactions are to keep things out, to keep things seeming less salacious. But in the Epstein files, there are things about partnerships. Epstein had close groups of friends and then closer groups of friends and then tertiary friends, so on and so forth, just like everybody else. Yeah, there's also something in there about exchange of money and overseas activity. I think the FBI already knows that the felon's being blackmailed. I don't know why they couldn't just release that information given what James Comey did to Hillary Clinton, but yeah. The FBI has everything they need to build up a case against a lot of people. They're just not doing it with the Nine of Pentacles. I think this is at the order of the felon. I think that changes, by the way, when Vance becomes president. I don't think Vance tolerates this type of stuff. I could be wrong, but I just feel like Vance is gonna realize how awful the felon really is, and like it's like kind of this kind of wake up and go, oh yeah, that's why I called him America's Hilter. You know, I think it's what happens. Yeah, I think the Eight of Cups is at the center of the reading. People walking away from all the people involved here. They know a lot about the Chariot card, about the trafficking, the movements of people. There's a lot there. That's why the felon promised to release it, knowing full well he wouldn't, because the MAGA people just aren't smart enough on the follow through. They're like, oh, it probably got released. Nothing to it, right? The Queen of Cups. It's enough to like really bring people along emotionally. They're going to be able to understand the story easily. It's going to cause great loss for the people that are in there, which is good, and judgment by the people. So currently, the FBI's tempered this down with the temperance card, but eventually they're not going to be able to because other people get into power, which is going to lead people to walk away from a lot of people, particularly the felon, but the people that support the felon, the people that have defended the felon. There's going to be a lot of judgment of these people. The stories are easy to understand and they're of a very emotional nature that will cause even the most loyal MAGA person to second guess their loyalty, and those that are just soft supporters to completely walk away. I think there's also information about foreign transactions with money, perhaps even blackmail, partnerships being revealed. The FBI has everything that they need to bring the case if they want to, or if they decide to. Um, I don't think they actually do this until the felon's gone, because I don't see any way that they do it while Kash Patel's still FBI director. There's a lot of information about the trafficking, and it'll bring great loss to people. It'll be a completely new beginning. I think it happens under a Democrat, though, or Democrat controlled Congress, even. It's illusion and delusion to think that the Seven of Cups, that the emperor, the abuse of power by the presidents won't be revealed because the truth is there. I wouldn't be surprised if Musk also knows this as well. Musk also fears for his own freedom, though, in the meantime, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. And it's a mutual kind of assured destruction between the two of them. And then we get the Ten of Pentacles again, the end of a cycle. It feels like this happens after the felon leaves the planet. So, um, not right after, nothing legal happens quickly. It's just the way the law works. It's very slow acting. Okay, so is there just a kind of yes or no question, and then we'll look at does Michael Wolff want to be sued? Is there a videotape of this incident, other incidents that the FBI has or that Vladimir Putin has? It's just we need to know on those fronts. That's right. Yeah, I think we're going to get that information. It's being held quite tightly right at the moment with the Queen of Pentacles. But ultimately, it's about families, reunions, and celebrations. And there's very few cards that predict young people in the tarot. This is one of them. So that's what it's about. Um, okay. So does Michael Wolff want to be sued? We all know the felon loves to sue people. Saying these things on a podcast would seem to be inviting a lawsuit. Is that the goal, though? Is the goal that Michael Wolff wants to be sued? Does he want to be sued? I think so. Yeah, he's like saying, bring it on. Bring on the prosecutorial type energy. Because if you sue me, my defense is going to be what I said is the truth. And therefore, let's have a discovery phase of what is the truth, and that will reveal everything. I think Michael Wolff also is holding more in his back pocket than we know, the Nine of Pentacles. I think it affects the world. I think the world will be watching and waiting if he gets sued. He slightly fears something happening to him, but I think at this point it's kind of um, he's seeing what's going on with the country. So at the center is the devil. There's some toxicity, mis and disinformation, misdirection as well. So the whole point of saying this is to get the felon to misguidedly sue him so that all this information can come out. Will the felon fall for it? He probably would, but will his lawyers? I don't know if they're, like Sidney Powell and Jenna Ellis and Rudy Giuliani, probably they'll fall for it too. Um, the King of Wands, it's some spicy information for sure. We get the Two of Wands. It'd be a very defining moment, right? It would change everything if this goes to a lawsuit because then it's not him just talking on podcasts and writing books. It's actually things coming out through the courts, being legally verified. He's already walked away from a lot of people in his life, so he's okay with it. And I think he's a little disillusioned that it'll actually happen, but he says, bring on the lawsuit. It's like a poisoned pawn in chess. It's like, yeah, come after me because I've got the goods. I don't think they're going to, though. I just don't think, I think they're going to see through it. Um, it's a crossroads situation. There's so much toxicity. The world would be watching as well. It'd be so salacious that it would just draw attention to it. So I think it'll be avoided. And I think Michael Wolff has the goods with the Nine of Pentacles. He's keeping things pretty well hidden and tightly lipped, and I think there's a lot of people that know what to do if something were to happen to him. I think he's probably already willing to take the heat with this with the Eight of Cups, and I think what we found out is just the tip of the iceberg. But it's planted the seeds with the American people, especially if this podcast gets shared more and more people take off. I think he's got a really strong um, set of evidence to back up what he's saying. I think what he's saying is the truth. And it's just a matter of whether the wheel will turn for him or against him. There is some anxiety, some information about money exchanging hands as well. So, anyhow, it's a crazy weekend with the news. We'll pick up more in the next video on some news topics, but I thought this was important to talk about. So again, I'll link the podcast in the description of this video if you want to watch it, share it. Yeah. So thank you for watching. I'll be back with another video soon.